Sounds good.
Hello, Jabin. We can start, okay?
Okay.
Okay. This is I've missed your voice. I've missed your voice. Yeah, and I like talking.
So we are ready to begin. So last time we talked about the difference between plant cells and animal cells. So plant cells have cell walls. They have large central vacuole, and they have chloroplasts. Those are the differences between animal cells and plant cells. As animal cells have no cell wall, has small vacuoles, and no chloroplast. So if a question asks you, which of the following pairs of structures are present in animal cells only? So does anyone know the answer? In only animal cells.
See.
I think I heard C, and that is correct. The answer is C. That is because cell wall and chloroplast are only found in plant cells. So chloroplast, and then also a cell wall. But C is the only one that is present both in animal cells. Let's look at this theory question. It says to name each of the parts labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1, it's over here. That looks like the cell membrane. 2 is pointing to the cytoplasm, which again is the liquid inside the cell. 3, this is the nucleus. And 4, this is the vacuole. And question 2 says which of the parts named in A is the same as the parts labeled 6 and 9 in cell B. In cell B, 6 is this part, this outer part. That looks like the cell membrane, right? So you can match it with 1 in cell A. So it'll be 1 and 6 will be the cell membrane. And 9 will be this large open space. And that is the vacuole. So we can match it with 4 over here. 4 and 6 are both vacuoles. And 3, next question asks which of the following cells is a plant cell? We know that plant cell B is the plant cell. And we can tell by here, give 2 reasons for the answer in 3. You can say there's a cell wall. That's why it's a plant cell. There's a large vacuole, which is only present in plant cells. And you can also maybe say that it has a chloroplast. So this question just asked about differences between animal cells and plant cells. Which of the following processes removes carbon from the atmosphere? Is it respiration, burning, decomposition, or photosynthesis? So I've noted here that respiration, burning, and decomposition all use oxygen and produce carbon dioxide. So it would not be removing carbon from the atmosphere. Photosynthesis is the only one that removes carbon from the atmosphere as it takes carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight to produce sugar and oxygen. So more trees would um, help regulate the Earth's carbon cycle and potentially reduce global warming by taking up the carbon dioxide present in the air. So plants are very important. So yeah. Next question. State what happens when photosynthesis occurs in a leaf. You can describe the process by saying the chlorophylls absorbs the sunlight. Chlorophylls are just green pigments in the leaf, which is in the chloroplast right here. And the leaf takes in carbon dioxide from the air, and the roots absorb water from the soil and send it up to the leaf. And using sunlight, we can convert it to glucose and oxygen. So carbon dioxide is taken in through the leaf and also sunlight. If there's a sun here, it's going to take in the sunlight. And then the water comes from the roots. That's how then the plants can produce energy by itself. It can produce materials that they can use for energy. So let's look at this next question. So this is about zinc deficiency. A mother took her child to the hospital, and upon investigation, it was noticed that the child's diet was lacking in zinc. What could this result in? This is asking about zinc deficiency symptoms. Is it that the child has decreased growth or has anemia and constipation? Or does the child have the inability of the body to fight infection? So I have given a hint here um, on the right. If you can read it, it says zinc is an essential material that plays a key role in many body functions. But anemia is more directly linked to iron deficiency, and constipation is not common. Um, did you say C? Um, yes, it's actually B because here I'm saying that anemia and iron deficiency is not related. So if we cross out two, We're left with 1 and 3. That's side is B. It's 1 and 3. So here are more details of symptoms of zinc deficiency. Zinc deficiencies can cause impaired immune function, the increased chance of infections, also cause delayed wound healing. Wounds take longer to heal, and it can also affect taste and smell. It can also make skin rashes, also result in hair loss and delayed growth. Other symptoms are like fatigue, loss of appetite, diarrhea. All of these are symptoms of zinc deficiency. So it is important.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. So I was just saying it's important to eat foods rich in zinc, like oysters, red meats, poultry, beans, nuts, and whole grains, or also to take zinc supplements. Now we're focusing more on malnutrition and other lacks of um, nutrients. So, disease resulting from malnutrition. An example of this would be scurvy. And scurvy is a disease caused by vitamin C deficiency, which is a form of malnutrition. Malnutrition being having a lack of certain nutrition. Vitamin C is an example of a nutrient that is pretty much essential to our body. And not eating enough fruits and vegetables is the main cause of the disease. The other answers like measles, malaria, gonorrhea, are all caused by microorganisms and not by malnutrition. So, and it can result in these like bleeding in the gums, from scurvy or malnutrition. And, this next question asks which of the following diseases is not a deficiency disease? And the answer would be B in this case, because scurvy is a deficiency in vitamin C. Beriberi is a deficiency in vitamin B1. And goiter is an iodine deficiency. But cholera is a bacterial infection, so it is not a deficiency disease. For these questions, yes, just be familiar with some of the deficiency related diseases. Uh, and these are just some examples. It can result, um, cholera can result from contaminated water or food. This question asks to state two effects of lack of protein in the diet of humans. So another malnutrition question. One effect could be kwashiorkor, which is a severe form of protein deficiency in children that causes swelling or edema, enlarged liver, and skin issues. Lack of protein can also cause slowed or stopped growth, cause muscles to become weak and immune systems to get weaker. Um, Get tired easily, um, can have hair and skin problems, and can also have delayed wound healing. So there's some effects that you can say. And here's a picture of kwashiorkor. You can see the stomach is kind of blobbed out, and this is due to protein deficiency. And on the top right is a picture of another deficiency called beriberi, which is a deficiency in vitamin B1. It's thiamine deficiency. And the picture right bottom is goiter, which is an iodine deficiency. It causes like enlarged thyroid gland. So in these neck areas, it'll be enlarged and swollen. And next we are talking about um fields in dental related. So the very hard greenish black deposit around the corners of the teeth is known as, is it a gum disease, a plaque, caries, or cavity?
Answer is B.
Yes, the answer is B. It's a plaque if it is very hard and has greenish black deposit. It's called plaque, to be exact. And plaque is a deposit around the corners of the teeth. And the picture on the right shows the plaque. It is a sticky film of bacteria, and if these bacteria are not removed regularly, it can harden and it can lead to gum disease and tooth decay. All of these are films of bacteria, and dental caries is a scientific term for tooth decay, and it is caused by bacteria that produce acids from sugar. So if you eat sweet stuff like sugar and do not brush your teeth, it can lead to caries as bacterias um, produce acids from sugar. So here on the right, this picture on the right is an example of caries where acids led to tooth decay, and on the left, this is a cavity, and cavity is a visible hole or damage that results from caries. So if the caries are not treated and if it's not managed regularly, it can lead to cavities like holes. Now this is talking about um, the structure of a tooth. So what would you call the hard outer surface of the tooth? Is it the root, the dentine, cement, or enamel?
Answer B.
The answer would be enamel. And here, I think you can see from the diagram that at the very top is talking about the hard outer surface. So the most outer surface is the enamel. And if you touch your teeth right now, you would feel the enamel. That is the hard part, the white part that you see from the teeth. And it is a hard outer surface that protects um tears inside. Inside the enamel would be the dentin here. And inside the dentin are coverage of blood vessels, and it's covered by the pulp. And inside that are blood vessels that flow to each of our tooth. And here is connected all the way down at the bottom to the roots. These are the roots of the teeth. Here the roots of the teeth are connected by nerves. So that is why you can feel a tap on your tooth because of the nerves connecting. And everything is held in place by the gum. This is the gum, and it is the our teeth are rooted in the gum. You can think of it that way. But this question just asked about the outer hard surface, which is the enamel. Next question, which of the following parts of the tooth is embedded in the jawbone? So our jawbone is the lower part here. Which part of the tooth is embedded in it? Is it the gum, the neck, the root, or the crown?
The answer is B.
Here it's talking about different parts of the tooth. So, if you think about the neck is not really embedded in the jawbone. Um, the part that is embedded in it is actually the root. So here it is separating the tooth into three parts, the crown, the neck, and the root. So it tells us this part is the root, this small part is the neck, this part is the crown. Crown is the topmost part, including the enamel and the upper part of the um dentine. As it gets to the neck, it is sort of in the middle and it gets slower. You can think of it as the root again. This is sort of shaped like a root. So the whole part is a root where it is embedded in our jawbone. And then to our gum here. So the answer is the roots. Now, this next question, a boy who is 17 years old is an is the boy an adult, an adolescent, or an old person, or an infant? If you said B, that would be correct. The adolescent. Because here, the stages of adolescent include from 10 to 13, be early adolescent. From 14 to 16 years old, those people will be middle adolescent. And from 17 to 19, they will be late adolescence. And then the next part is being an adult, and then But before that, you're an infant from 0 to 12 months of age. And then from 12 months to, I guess, 10 years old, still be considered a child. And then you develop into adolescence and then to adults. So this next question, which of the following organisms is an ectoparasite of animals? So an ectoparasite is a type of parasite that lives on the outside of the body of its host, versus an endoparasite, which are a parasite that lives inside the body of their host. So, which of these can live outside of the host, like in the hair or other parts of the body? Maybe have if you said A, that would be correct. Uh, have you guys ever heard about fleas? Fleas are these ectoparasites that live in the hair. It looks like this. It feeds on the host by living in the hair of humans, and it can also live in animals too. Most common in animals. So these are differences of ectoparasites and endoparasites. Ecto are like ticks, lice, fleas. Endoparasites are like roundworm, whipworm, hookworm, and tapeworm. And again, ectoparasite lives outside, endoparasite lives inside the host. But both of these benefit off of the host. Yeah, let's look at this next question. Oil from a mechanic workshop accidentally spilled a pool of water which was breeding mosquitoes. So breeding is laying eggs, so you can call that. And after some time, the pool of water was no longer breeding mosquitoes. They were no longer laying eggs. Which control method may have deployed, may have been deployed?
Environmental.
Um, would this be environmental control? Or since it is an oil spill from a mechanic workshop, I think it's better to say it's a chemical control. So, um, before we get into different controls, um, it's maybe better to get familiar with the mosquito life cycle. So, an adult mosquito first lays its egg in stagnant water, and then it hatches into larva, and then it develops into pupa, which is like the middle stage between an adult and a larva. It forms a pupa, and then an adult emerges from the pupa and it flies off. That forms an adult mosquito. And these are different ways that we can control the mosquitoes. So there are biological controls, chemical controls, environmental controls, and genetic controls. Biological control uses natural enemies like fish. So if you release fish into mosquito-rich stagnant water, they will eat the larvae that hatch from the eggs. Another control is chemical control, like we saw, which uses mineral oil, insecticides, and larvicides to kill the mosquitoes by spilling it in the water. There's also environmental control, which is about removing or ditching of standing water, of stagnant water. So it is preventing from mosquitoes breeding at all by removing water. So it's completely removing spots for mosquitoes to be able to breed and to lay eggs. The last part is the genetic control, which is about changing mosquito genes to reduce their population. So this has more to do with um, about genetic modification of mosquitoes. These are the four different types of mosquito control. So if we go back to this question, oil spilling can actually both be chemical control and maybe also environmental control. Because if you said environmental control, it would also kind of be correct. Because you are removing the mosquito habitats, mosquitoes where they can lay eggs by covering in oil. If it's covered in oil, then it is removing spots for mosquitoes to lay eggs. And it is also chemical control in a sense that you use chemicals to prevent mosquitoes or directly killing the larvae and the eggs. Since the larva cannot breathe if oil is covered, they would die off. So it is both a sort of chemical control and environmental control. So this next theory question is still concerning methods of controlling mosquitoes. It says to state one chemical method of controlling mosquitoes. You can say by spraying insecticide or adding oil on surface of stagnant water. Next, name those stages of the life cycle of a mosquito. We have talked about how it develops from the egg and emerges the larva and then forms a pupa and then a new adult mosquito arises. So egg, larva, pupa, then two adults. And the last part, name the stage at which feeding does not take place. So at the pupa stage, the mosquito does not eat. It is actually just a transformation between the larva and the adult. And in this resting stage, no feeding occurs, so they don't need any more nutrients. They're just developing. And this next asks to explain how the female Anopheles mosquito transmits malaria to humans. So Anopheles mosquitoes are types of a species of mosquitoes that transmit malaria. And this is the process that generally happens. So, an infected mosquito that has the parasites bites a person, and these parasites are called sporozoites, these active forms. And these parasites are of a species called Plasmodium. Once these sporozoites enter our body, it goes into our livers and it infects our liver. And from the liver, the sporozoites produce thousands of what's called merozoites. And once these merozoites are produced um, with numerous amounts, they usually rupture, these cells rupture, and it leads into our bloodstream. It enters our bloodstream, and it infects the red blood cells as well. Again, if the red blood cells, it also causes them to rupture and causes, this is where the symptoms begin to show. After it has been dormant for a while, then the symptoms start to show when it enters our bloodstream. And this develops into further stages of the merozoites. So it becomes from the merozoites to the gametocytes. These gametocytes are just gametes, which can form to form a new sporozoid. So a mosquito, when it bites an infected person this time, the mosquito itself become infected. They become infected, and in the mosquito, the Plasmodium gametocytes develop into sporozoites, and by forming these two what's called gametes. It's like a sperm and the egg. Once it combines, it forms a zygote and it develops into the parasites again. And the cycle repeats when the infected mosquito bites the human again. So this was the whole, a pretty long cycle. You can see that both the mosquito and humans can be the holders of malaria. So humans can have malaria and mosquitoes can have malaria. And um and mosquitoes transmit it to another healthy person as it bites another person. So just be familiar with this general cycle of how mosquitoes transmit malaria because the test might ask you a couple of these questions. Just be familiar with the general steps. And yeah, this is asking a little bit more about mosquitoes. So mosquito pupa, this development stage, breathes through the tube called, is it called a trachea or is it called the siphon? Is it the lungs or is it the gills? We haven't really talked about this yet, but it is actually called the siphon where it breathes. Trachea is the windpipe for mammals. So we have trachea, as the wind, air comes in for our nose or mouth, goes down the trachea. Again, lungs are for mammals. Um, we always have lungs that we can, consisting of alveoli that we helps us um exchange oxygen. And then gills are for fish. here is a detailed picture of a pupa. On the left, this is a really close-up picture of a pupa, where these are the gills. This is the abdomen. This is the intestine. This is the eye. And this is the siphon. And this is where the pupa can breathe. And on the right, these are just mosquito larvae. And you can see these are like worms a little bit. And yeah, these are small parts of the pupa and the larvae. Next question, the structure which enables a fish to breathe in water is it the buccal cavity? Is it the gills? Is it the swim bladder? Or is it the lungs? I think I heard B first. And if you said B, that is correct. Since fish, for them to breathe in water, they do not have lungs. So fish do not have lungs. Buccal cavity is just the mouth, so it's not necessarily going through the buccal cavity for fish to breathe. It's not the swim bladder because it controls the buoyancy or the float on water so that they can rise, sink, or stay. That is not for breathing. And gill is the only part for the fish to be able to breathe. And it's actually the respiratory organs, the main respiratory organ of a fish. Oxygen flows through the gills, and then as it leaves, maybe the other side, the oxygen is absorbed in the middle. This is where the oxygen exchange directly occurs. Oxygen exchange occurs in the gills, and that's for the fish. For humans and other mammals, it occurs in the lungs, in the alveoli. Now let's look at this question more about the food chain and the ecosystem. So we're moving into these larger pictures of ecology. Of It's like a separate branch of biology. And this question asks, green plants have the ability to make their own food, hence they're known as, are they producers? Are they parasites? Are they consumers? Or are they decom?
A,
Yes,
A.
the answer is A. These are producers. Since green plants make their own food, making their own foods, they're called producers. They make their own food by photosynthesis. We've talked about it before. Photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight to convert to oxygen and glucose. And then once the producers make their own food, consumers then take and eat the producers that um, are able to sustain itself. Producers are able to sustain itself. The consumer needs to eat it, eat other organisms for food, whether they be herbivores or carnivores. Herbivores eat the producers. Carnivores eat other organisms, like other animals. And finally, there are decomposers, and they break down dead materials. So once an organism dies, it's the decomposer's job to return it and recycle it back into the soil. And that also provides nutrients for other producers to grow. And the cycle repeats. So, and this might be a little easy, but we're moving on to this is the food chain. So, this is generally how um what I've talked about the cycle occurs. So, every energy comes from the sun. So, the energy from the sun enables producers to make their own food by photosynthesis with a mix of water and carbon dioxide. And the primary consumers, like the grasshopper, eats the grass. And then secondary consumer comes like the frog, eats the grasshopper. And a tertiary consumer, like the snake, eats the frog. And finally, they can be another step of consumer at the top of the food chain, such as a hawk. A hawk can eat a snake. And then once all these organisms die, it is taken up by the decomposers, like bacteria, fungi, and even some insects and worms, like the earthworm, are decomposers. They recycle the nutrients back to the soil once all these other organisms die. This was generally just a cycle of the food chain, and state two differences between ecosystem and habitat. So it's just asking us to state the differences. You can say that ecosystem is a community. It's not a single spot, but a community of interacting living things and non-living things. They work together and depend on each other. An ecosystem is the larger part, and the habitat is just a smaller part of an ecosystem. Habitat is a specific home, a natural home or environment of a particular species. In that habitat, it provides food, shelter, and conditions for living. So a habitat can be the forest, the ocean, the desert, or the grassland, or it can even be smaller, like trees and maybe some other parts. So here's the picture. So everything, this whole part about living and non-living things working together, affecting each other, is called the ecosystem. For example, the sun affecting the growth of plants, maybe also the soil, and other environmental conditions like the water, the air, the mountains, all affect living things as well. Like here we see rabbits, bears, fish, deers, foxes, and eagles. All of them are living organisms that can be affected and affect each other. This whole um, place where they affect each other called the ecosystem, and a habitat is just a small part of it. For example, this forest can be a habitat and enables for organisms to live, provides them food and shelter. So, and inside the habitat, there can be even smaller communities. So that's the general differences. But a theory question might ask you to construct a food web. So you can construct a food web by using arrows. So you notice that there are a lot of arrows in the food web. And this tells us which feeds on which. which consumes the other one. And the arrow pointing is usually pointing from the prey to the predator. So you can think of it as the direction of energy flow. So if a grass cutter and a grasshopper eats the grass, then the arrow points away from the grass to the grasshopper. So energy from the grass goes to the grasshopper as grasshopper eats the grass. And then maybe a toad eats the grasshopper. Then you point the arrow from the grasshopper to the toad. And you can see this is how the energy flows. And on the left, it just gave out some instructions. What you can do is just follow from the descriptions. So if it says, for example, man feeds on grass cutter, you would write grass cutter, maybe up on top, and then point an arrow to a man, which you maybe write on the bottom. And an example after completing all these steps are on the right. This is the completed food web from the description on the left. That's how you would make a food web. And does anyone have a question so far? Because it has been uh quite a long topic. Are there any questions for now? Or no questions? Okay. Um, yeah, I hope the food web is clear. And let's look at this next question. This is about testing a leaf for starch. And a starch is a major um collection, I guess, of sugar that the plant saved for it to use later. And to test for starch in a green leaf, it is usually boiled to do what?
Someone has a question for you, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. I did not notice the hand, so yeah, ask a question.
Please, the food chain is not clear.
Oh, you're saying the food chain is not clear?
Yes,
Okay. Is it the food chain or the food web? Because
the food chain.
chain, okay. So this is the food chain, and the food chain basically starts from the producer, and it's also pointed by arrows. You can see this arrow, and it points from the producer to the consumers, like a grasshopper. If the grasshopper eats the grass, then you point an arrow from the grass to the grasshopper. And then if a frog eats the grasshopper, then you would point the arrow from grasshopper to the frog. And it doesn't have to be in a circle. It can be in a straight line. So you can say grass. It can even be up. Grasshopper. And it can go like this, like a frog. It doesn't have to be in a circle. But this generally shows what eats the other one. So did that make sense for you? I hope.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You just write eats grasshopper eats the grass. The frog eats the grasshopper, and then it continues. Like a snake eats the frog. So here, from frog to snake. And then finally, there are decomposers. Is decomposers, where they break down dead materials. So is there anything else that maybe you find confusing? Yeah, was there any other questions about this topic? Oh, okay, yeah, I hope this made sense for you. And okay. Yeah, so can we return to this question? Is everyone okay with that? Okay. Yeah, we can move on to this next question. So, to test for starch in a green leaf, it is boiled to. Is it to isolate the starch? Is it to kill the leaf? Is it to make the leaf soft? Or is it to extract chlorophyll? So this is just a process for testing a leaf for starch. And boiling the leaf would just kill it, which stops all chemical processes. And the general testing for starch would go as boiling the leaf and then dropping an ethanol, which is an alcohol. And then you would test with an iodine solution. If you drop the iodine, and if it is yellow or brown, it does not have sugar or starch. And if it is blue, then it is positive the starch is present. This is also called the glucose test, um, because it tests if there are sugar present in the plant. And we are moving on to the last topic of biology, which is plant anatomy. So the ovary, style, and stigma are collectively known as, is it the stamen? Is the pistil? Is it the fruit? Or is it the stem? So the answer I put here is B. It is the pistil. So all of these include stigma, style, and the ovary. This whole part is also the female part of the flower. These straight parts. This whole part is the female part. And the other part, the male part of the flower, is called the stamen. Or also these like tiny stem-like part is the stamen, and it is also the male part. So stamen produces pollen, basically, and it collects to the pistil. Let's see how that works. So, so what occurs is pollination. So pollination is the process by which pollen is transferred from the male part of the flower, also called the anther, and travels to the female part, which is the stigma. of the same flower or to another flower of the same species. So the male part produces a lot of pollen and it travels maybe by wind as wind blows on it. It travels to another flower or even to its own, since flowers have both male parts and female parts. And once the pollen lands, it lands on the stigma. It lands on top here. And that's where the pollination occurs. So it produces by the anther. And can anyone answer this question? The part of the flower that produces pollen grains is called.
It's A.
Um, if you're talking about the stamen, that would be the part of both the male parts. So I guess you would be right in a sense that it is containing the anther, but if it asks you specifically which part of the stamen produces pollen grains, it would be the anther. Anther is the top part, but anther is in a larger system of stamen. So remember that it is produced by the anther. And then the next question, all flowering plants end their life cycle with what do they end their life cycle with? Is it the seed formation? Is it the seed development? Or is it the seed dispersal? Or the seed germination?
C.
Yeah, if you
C.
said C, that would be correct. The answer is C. And
David. David.
yes, do you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah, what is your question? You can ask.
What is cross-pollination?
Sorry, did you ask about cross pollination?
Yes.
Okay. So here, cross pollination, here, if you're talking about pollination, basically occurs when pollens are produced by the anther. And if it is crossed by another plant, then this pollen travels to another flower. And this pollen, as it travels to another flower by maybe wind, or it can also be transferred by pollinators, like you see bees, maybe you see bees or butterflies. So they say bees are pollinators, so or maybe butterflies as they get their food, they try to collect nectar from the flowers, but as they come, they can carry pollens to another plant. They can carry it to another flower. As they travel, they might end up sticking the pollen to the stigma. So stigma is this area, is the female part. And as it sticks to the stigma, then it goes down into the ovary, and it can form things like fruits too, if it is a fruiting plant. But is this generally how the pollination occurs? Pollen travels from the anther to the stigma. And this can occur by pollinators like bees, these are bees, and butterflies. They help carry the pollen to another stigma, and if it happens between other um, plants, then it becomes a cross-pollination. Or did that answer your question? Um, is there maybe anything else that you found confusing?
Continue.
Okay, I'm sorry, did you say did it answer your question? Or
Yes.
okay. I hope this process of pollination made sense. And
Yes.
okay. And here last time we just talked about we ended off with the seed dispersal as being the last part of the cycle of the plant life cycle. So the seed, once it lands on a new land, it germinates and grows into a seedling, which is a small new plant. And then the seedling develops into an adult plant. It grows to an adult and it forms flowers. And we've looked at how bees, like pollinators like bees, can help with pollination. And sometimes from these pollinations, we can form fruits. And fruits contain seeds. And then if the seeds then drops off to a new place, and the seeds can be dispersed by winds or water or by other animals. But the important part is the last step. And this question asked about the last step, which is the seed dispersal. And this is the last theory question of this unit. And the diagrams here shows a step-up study, a setup study used to study the conditions for seed germination. The flasks are held at 25 degrees Celsius during the experiment. So let's look at what this experiment tells us. So here are three flasks, flask 1, flask 2, and flask 3. In flask 1, we have both light and water, since we have moist cotton wool. But for flask 2, it does not get sunlight because it is covered in aluminum foil. In flask 3, since it has dry cotton wool and it is covered by aluminum foil, it gets no water and it gets no light. So this is their experiment. And the question asks you, what conclusion can be drawn from the results of flask 1 and flask 2? We notice that after 2 days, both flask 1 and flask 2 had seeds germinated. And since the light was not present in flask 2 but still germinated, we can make the conclusion that light is not necessary for germination. The next question asks what conclusion can be drawn from the results of flask 2 and flask 3. Since the only difference between flask 2 and flask 3 was yes water and no water. Had water and no water for flask 3. But since flask 2 with water germinated, but flask 3 without water did not germinate, we can make a conclusion that water is necessary for germination. Question 3 asks, the seedlings in flask 2 died after 2 weeks. What can be the reason? You can say the lack of water or the moisture, or the main reason is because there is no sunlight. So the plants, although it germinated, it was not able to perform photosynthesis and to make their own energy. So it died off. So these sort of questions might ask you to set up an experiment and to make conclusions off of that. But the main thing you want to note is what is being tested and what are the differences. And that will be able to get you through some of the questions. So I think this is the last question for this unit. And we have a couple of minutes left, so maybe I wanted to focus um, a little bit on the first part because um, the human body system we covered yesterday. Um, maybe we can go over that.
Okay.
Yeah, these are just quick reviews. So first we talked about the respiration, the respiratory system, which had lungs, um, trachea, nasal cavity in the mouth, and also the larynx, which is the voice box. We've talked about how inside lungs there are millions and millions of alveoli where oxygen exchange occurs. And then we talked about how it relates to the circulatory system, but we talked more in detail in this slide. But before we did that, we also talked about respiration, or aerobic respiration needs oxygen, and anaerobic respiration does not require oxygen. And we talked about the difference between the two. And then we talked about the differences. And then we moved on to the circulatory system of the human body. We have talked about the blood flowing from the right atrium to the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery as it goes to the lungs, and it gets oxygenated and returns from the pulmonary veins. This is our left parts now, left atrium, and it flows into the left ventricle
Okay.
and then through the aorta to the rest of our bodies. Now this is the systemic circulation. The parts flowing to and from the lungs is called pulmonary circulation. So we've talked about that, and we have talked about differences between arteries and veins. And we've also talked about capillaries, where oxygen and nutrient exchange occurs. So the main difference between arteries and veins is that veins is less thicker and has valves to push the blood up, and a large lumen. And then we talked about how um, veins have deoxygenated bloods and arteries have oxygenated blood, with the only exception being the pulmonary ones. And then we talked about different components of the blood, like red blood cells, platelets, white blood cell, and the plasma. We talked about how white blood cells um, help fight infections and diseases. And then we went down to the digestive systems. This was our third body system that we talked about. Remember how everything starts with the mouth as we chew the food and it goes down the esophagus into our stomach, into our small intestine, and then to our large intestine and out through the anus. And liver and pancreas also help with digestion by providing enzymes. And yeah, we talked about the processes, and we've also talked about how energy absorption occurs in the small intestine. Nutrient absorption occurs in the small intestine through these tiny bumps called villi. And then we talked about some basic components of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The end products of carbohydrates are things like glucose or maybe fructose, depending on the substance. Protein breaks down into amino acids, and fat or lipid breaks down into fatty acids or glycerols. We talked about some animal digestive systems as well. And then we moved into the reproductive system of both male and female. In the female part, we talked about ovaries being the spots for ovulation, where they produce the eggs and hormones. And then we've also talked about the fallopian tubes, where fertilization occurs, and also the womb or the uterus, where the fetus grows. And here is the general process. So fertilization occurs in this tube, in this fallopian tube, as the sperm meets the egg produced by the ovaries. And then it goes through cell division and mitosis, and it implants into the uterus. And then the fetus develops. And the other parts include the cervix, which is the lower part, um, which opens during delivery, where the child is born. And the vagina is the birth canal, is the passage of menstrual flow, and also where the childbirth occurs when the child goes out. And then we've also talked about male reproductive system, where there are testes. The function is to produce sperms. Talked about the scrotum, which helps regulate the temperature of the testes. And then the epididymis, which stores the mature and matures the sperm. And then talked about the vas deferens, which is also called the sperm duct, which is a tube that delivers the mature sperms. And although we didn't talk about other parts, there are other more detailed parts like prostate gland, seminal vesicles, urethra, and yeah, we've talked about how the epididymis stores the sperm after it is made. We've talked about that. And these are just important parts where fertilization occurs. Remember, in the fallopian tube, production of sperm occurs in the testes, and ovulation occurs in the ovary. I think this is the only important part section. And then we also talked about how excretory system is the process where metabolic waste products are removed from the body. So the wastes in our blood vessels travel to the kidneys, where urea, carbon dioxide, excess water are released. It goes into your ureter and collects in our bladder and out through the urethra. This is how we remove waste from our body. And then, yeah, and then that's how we started today's lesson. It was with the cells. And I know this unit was pretty heavy in details and topics. So, does anyone have a question so far regarding this unit?
No.
Yeah, are you sure there's no questions? Since this is the last unit, you can really ask about anything. It doesn't have to be just the biology parts. Because today would be the last lesson before you take the BECE exam. Um,
Yes.
but, but yeah, if you don't have any questions, just remember to self-study um the other slides like chemistry and physics and also geography, um and earth science, agriculture, that slide, and also this part 4 of biology and human disease as well. So if you can practice by yourself, or if maybe the science teacher can help you go through the slides and review it together, that would be great. And
Okay.
okay.
David.
Um, and I just have a question for everyone. So does everyone plan to go to high school and apply for the senior high school?
Yes. Yes.
Is there anyone who maybe cannot go to senior high school or did not decide to go? I just wanted to know. Nobody? Oh, yeah, that is good. I'm glad that um I hope I'm glad that you want to go to high school. And um before we end, I just wanted to also ask how was the class? Um was it difficult? Was it easy? Or
David.
sorry, was it difficult or easy or maybe in between? Oh,
Crossing.
oh, was it easy? Did you guys already know the materials before?
So it was in between.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So maybe some of the topics you have learned in school and maybe some that you didn't. It was in between.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is good to know. And so since today is the last lesson, I wouldn't be able to see you guys again until sometime in July. But do you guys know when the graduation occurs? When do you guys go to senior high school? Do you know the
No.
date?
No.
Oh, you don't exactly know the date? Uh, okay, I think I
Yes.
can check with someone else just to make sure. But
From September.
oh, it's sometime in September. Okay, okay.
Please, we have some questions.
On September. So I know that you start attending high school in September, but do you know when the graduation is? Um, when you graduate from junior high school?
17th of June.
Oh, June 17. Oh, okay. Okay, so I wouldn't be able to see you guys next time. So yeah, this will be the last lesson for your group, and see you all will be going to high school. And for the BEC exam, I hope everyone does well, and I hope everyone can get to high school and learn a lot. Um, you just remember to uh, have your passion, study a lot, and if you have anything you want to be in the future. If you work your hardest, then you will achieve your dreams. So always try your best and have a passion in studying. And all of you, I will guarantee will succeed. And I also, um, in the chats, I have included my email address. So if anyone wants to contact me by email, if you have, yeah, you can write it down. I put it in chat for you guys to see. Um,
Let me wait for you.
JB.
Is it on?
What does early morning sun? Which vitamins does it give?
sorry, what did you say? I couldn't hear you correctly.
Early morning sun. Which vitamins that it gives?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you correctly.
I said early morning sun. Which vitamins that it gives?
Which vitamin is what again?
Okay, let me type.
I couldn't hear so clearly. Maybe it's because of the microphone, but
Yeah.
oh, you know, oh, I think I see the question. Yeah, what does early, yeah,
I'm
morning,
coming.
yeah, for
Say
the
what?
first question, what does early morning sun give humans? It's giving you vitamin D. So, oh, vitamin D, most of the time.
Vitamin.
If you're curious, yeah, that's so it's important to get a lot of sunlight, um, to get vitamin D, if that is your question.
Yeah, tomorrow. Wait for my email. Sure, I'm going to do that. Hello, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a
Okay.
question or feel free to.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Baby, we manage you. Thank you, child.
Did he have anything to say? Because I couldn't.
Javin,
Yeah. Mhm.
Do you also write BC?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you correctly.
I
David,
Yes. Mhm.
hello. I said, do you guys also write BEC at your place?
Oh, we don't take a BEC at where I am. Um, for high school, we don't need to take an exam. Um, but yeah, for us, we didn't need to take an exam to get to senior high school. Um, but
Oh, okay. So you go free.
yes, no, we don't go. Well, some high schools are free, some senior high schools are free, and uh, but some private senior high schools are, you need to pay money. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to come to your place. Oh.
There you go. So if you maybe after you complete high school, you can maybe apply for colleges abroad, maybe in United States.
Oh, I
And
don't have money.
20. Oh, you can apply for scholarships. So if you do well in high school, you can apply for college scholarships and they pay you the money.
Really?
And yes, you can also get student visa, so you can travel to other countries. Um, and
So when I
sorry, can you hear me?
get aggregates,
It is a little laggy right now. There, can you hear me?
why not?
Oh, I think it's better now. Yeah. Can you repeat your question?
I said, David,
Yes.
I was saying when I get a single number, will you help me?
Oh yeah, if you come to United States, yes, I will help you. Yeah, I really hope I can meet you here. Um, or I can also visit Ghana one more time, so I can help you there too. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Then I'll be coming, so be waiting for me.
yeah, I'll be waiting for you if you come.
7 years more.
Yeah, for I'll be waiting for everyone. If they decide to come, yeah, I will help you out.
They are not ready, only me.
David, are you
Yes.
attending
Yes, I am currently attending a senior high school. So,
senior high school?
yes, I'm attending senior high school in the United States right now.
Okay, please, can I know the name?
You-
I want to take your school, so David,
yeah.
please, what course are you doing? Which course?
Oh, of course. If you're curious, I'm learning math.
You.
I'm learning math, science like chemistry and biology and
Okay.
English and history and also another language. So those are just, I'm also learning Chinese too. So
Chinese. Oh, that's why you are very intelligent.
I have like taking 6 courses. So yeah. If you also decide to come, you can if you decide to come to the United States, it's mostly for universities. So after you graduate from high school, you can apply for global universities and apply for scholarships too. So
Okay, okay. But I want to tell you something. We are very appreciative for this lesson and other stuffs.
yeah, I was also really glad that everyone was able to listen,
Yeah,
and I'm happy that you were able to listen. And yeah,
we are very, very, very grateful.
yeah, you're
But what?
welcome. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I want the thing at your teeth, you know. Your teeth, you know.
Oh, I'm getting braces right now. Um,
Yeah, your teeth, your teeth. That thing. I want some.
uh,
How can I get?
it's only when you have bad teeth orientation. You seem to have uh good teeth. Your teeth look healthy, so you don't need this actually.
So
I
okay,
need it
okay, okay.
because I
I
had a
understand.
yeah bad teeth orientation. So
Okay. So where is your mom?
oh, I'm living in Massachusetts. It's a state in the United States.
Oh, okay. What about your brother?
I can show you a map if you want. Uh,
Your brother, your brother.
my brother is also near the area. So can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm right here. Like you see this blue dot?
Yes.
I'm over here. This is the United States, and you guys are in Ghana. So you're over here. This is Ghana. And then if you and you can see the I'm over here and you're over here. So if you want to fly, you can fly a plane to Massachusetts over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're enjoying pound.
Yeah. So you can come to this area. Um, this area is just Boston. So if you come here, you can maybe apply for colleges in Boston. But yeah, it was really nice seeing you guys, and I hope you learned at least a little bit from the lesson. And
Yeah, yeah. So when are we going to see you again? Mm,
I might be able to see you. I'm not too sure if I can see you this year, but since you're all going to high schools, I might be able to see you next year once I go visit Ghana. Um, but yeah, I hope to see everyone again, maybe sometime.
okay, okay. Yeah, I have your email, so we will communicate.
Okay, yeah, you can send me an email anytime and I'll yeah respond immediately.
Okay,
And
okay.
um yeah, good luck everyone in high school and taking the exam. Again, I hope everyone does well on the BECE and I hope everyone can get to the high school that they want and succeed in the future.
Okay.
If you work hard, your dreams will come true. You will succeed. And yeah, just
Okay, so what work do you want to do in future?
What do I want to do in the future?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I want to be a doctor, so a medical
Oh,
doctor.
nice.
Yeah, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a pirate.
Oh, a pilot.
I
Yeah, a
want to be
pilot
a
is.
pilot. Yeah, pilot.
Oh yeah, pilot is a very good job to have, and um you can actually try to sign up for pilot schools in the United States. There are pretty good pilot schools and also in Ghana too, I think. So yeah, once
Oh,
you go to college, you can apply for pilot schools and
like Ghana's one is not correct one.
yeah, I think there's one in Ghana too. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would like to come to your place.
Oh yeah, you can search for flight schools in America. I know there's a good one in Florida. You can try to look up in the internet. And you can,
Yeah.
yeah, apply for scholarships too.
So who is sitting beside you? Hi.
Who is sitting?
Sorry, it's cutting off a little bit. Can you repeat?
Oh, okay, so Jordan. So we are going to eat.
Sorry, I can't hear you. It's cutting off right now. Yeah, I think yeah, I need to go right now, but again, it was really nice seeing you guys.
Devin,
Yeah. Mhm.
so the voice is not coming.
Yes.
Can
Yes, can you say hello? Can you hear me?
okay. Okay, so I was saying thank you for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, thank you everyone for
Yeah, okay. See you next time.
listening. Yeah, I
Okay.
hope to see you again in the future. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
See you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thomas.
Bye.
Ah, 1,000 bye 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 bye.
Bye.